Hello, back again with a tea and with a penny for my thoughts. So I want to talk about today about anxiety. And I've already made a video about anxiety before and just some of my own struggles with anxiety and just anxiety in general. But I want to expand on it. So I call this Anxiety Reloaded. Now, it's hard for people that don't have anxiety to understand anxiety. It's even hard for the people that do have anxiety to understand anxiety. And I mean, it's a struggle and it is a mental health issue. It is. I mean, it may not seem like it. It's just seem like a more of a like an outward thing, like if people just think you're just worrying a lot, but really it is. Like it affects your body, it affects your mind, it affects your blood pressure or something. I mean, I guess I had to go in with body. It does. And a lot of people don't just have mental anxiety, have physical anxiety too. And not just regular anxiety. Like, I mean, we're human beings, so everybody has anxiety. But I'm talking about anxiety where you're just nothing's going on. There's no issue or anything. You could just be sitting there and like your body and your heart rate is up and everything else. You just feel anxious for no reason, and not to even mention when there is some type of stressful situation because that makes it even worse. But that's just not all of the anxiety attacks. Even the mindset of it, like and like I said, I could say this because I've struggled with it for years. And just the worrying, and just there's times where you can't even sleep because you're worrying so much, or in having intrusive thoughts and things like that of hey, what if I'm out here and something just fall on my head or so, like an intrusive thought, and the anxiety makes it so real to you, and until sometime you're just like you have to talk yourself out of it. And sometimes it's hard to explain that to people that don't that doesn't understand it. Or sometimes people have anxiety and they don't think they do, or they just don't understand why they feel this way, and maybe they don't do as much research, or maybe they just think that they have anxiety will make you think that you have an actual like medical problem, like that you're like, oh my god, am I having a heart attack, and really you're having an anxiety attack. I had my first anxiety attack in high school and I didn't know what was going on, and it had me messed up for months. That's how bad it knocked me off. But I had already was diagnosed with anxiety because I would go to the doctor and be like, my heart is all my chest is always feeling tight. I don't know why. And they're like, well, it's anxiety. And I just took it in, and that was okay. I got anxiety, okay, whatever. But until I had an anxiety attack, it just knocked me off, and I was like, I just feel totally off, and it was to the point where it knocked me off for months, and I couldn't sit a certain way. I couldn't sit with people behind me. I had to have my back against the wall. Like everything felt made me feel like on edge. And I was graduating out of high school, and that caused anxiety. Just going through all that, and I took my ACT test with no sleep. I had so much anxiety. It took me 6 months to just get back to myself again because it knocked me off so much. But ever since then, I've never had another anxiety attack because I've learned how to do my best to manage it. Now that I knew what it was, breathing exercises and everything else, and just my best trying to be mindful of when I'm worrying about something. And sometimes anxiety will have you drag you into a wormhole of worrying and you don't even know you're worrying. Or you'd be like, look, I'm not going to worry about this, or I'm not going to worry about that. And it'd be so much stuff going on in the world sometimes that makes your anxiety worse. The economy and all the violence and sending your kids to school and all other type of stuff make your anxiety even worse. And sometimes it's hard to push through. Sometimes it's hard to just be like, let me just not think about it. It is. It really is. And, you know, it is a mental health issue. And depression is a mental health issue. So is anxiety. It's a mental health issue. It doesn't, it, to me, I feel like it doesn't get spoken about that much like depression do, because anybody can have anxiety. Is what it kind of like, okay, anxiety is like a regular human thing. Yes, it is, but it also is a mental issue too, because people that just may have some anxiety from a time being or just temporary at that point, theirs go away. People that have ongoing anxiety, we deal with this every day. And anxiety will make you not be able to sleep. Anxiety will make you feel like, okay, what if I die in my sleep? Just worrying about it for no reason. And not to say those things don't happen to people, but for you to worry about it every other day, that's a problem. It also makes you not believe in yourself. And you can't do that. I can say this because years of myself, I have wasted years of not doing certain things I wanted to do, or I knew I was capable of doing, or knew I could believe in doing, because the anxiety and the fear of failure. And I had to tell myself that if you're afraid, if you have so much fear of being a failure, you're initially, in if you think about it in retrospect, becoming a failure anyway, because you're not doing the things that you want to try to do, because you're in fear and your anxiety of failure, and you end up not doing them and you become a failure anyway. So what helps me is just, I got tired of not doing things, and I was like, I'm just going to do everything my anxiety tell me not to do. Everything my anxiety tell me not to do, I'm going to do the opposite, whether I fail or not. But at least I did it. Saying this because I come from it. There's a lot of people that say things, do this, do that, but do they come from it? You got to come from it to really understand it. And I do this in my personal life. I don't just tell people to do this. I do this in my personal life every day. I am not perfect. I can motivate, inspire, and the only reason I can do that because I live it every day. I have to motivate and inspire myself every single day, because if not, my anxiety would take a hold of me, and I fight it. This is what I say. My anxiety is like a person, and we in the ring, and we just fighting every day. And I'm not a get down or lay down type of person. I will fight. If my anxiety is a fire that want to burn me up, I will take that fire and turn it into a torch and run a marathon with it. And if I got to show the next person and pass that torch on, that's just what it is. And and I know that some people, it's just overbearing, the anxiety. And everybody can't motivate themselves. Everybody can't see it. There's people that unalive themselves for anxiety. Like, because it's just so overbearing. So much of worrying about stuff. You'll just worry about everything. That is basically what the baseline of anxiety, just worrying, and it could be about nothing. You just worrying. The day will make you overwhelmed. You cannot like, you can say, okay, I'm gonna clean my house this day, and then I'm gonna clean my car, and then I'm gonna do this. These are three things. Anxiety will have them feel like 10 different things that you gotta do, and you're like, oh my God, everything I gotta do today, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I'm not being productive. I'm not doing what I say I was gonna do. Oh my God, I'm not. That's how anxiety will make you feel. It could be three things, three tasks that you said you were going to do, and anxiety will make it feel like it's 20. Anxiety will make it feel like it's 10. And don't let something else happen that will knock you off, because then you're thinking about that too, and your mind is just rush, 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 go, 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 go. Oh, I'm not doing this. Oh, I'm not doing that. Oh, I'm not here. Oh, I'm not there. And it will make you feel crazy sometimes. It will. And it's it isn't some people will say, well, just don't worry. That's easy for you to say. It it's for a person with anxiety, that's not always easy sometimes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it ain't. There are some that just cannot deal with it and they're just like, I'm just done with life. And then there's some that, it is a struggle. Anxiety is a mental health issue, and you can't, tell someone to say, well, just don't worry. Because from a person that has it, there are sometimes I'd say that to myself. Just don't worry. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes I'd be like, I gotta say it 5 times. Just don't worry, just don't worry. And sometimes I can say it once and just move on. But you just never know. And it affects your body too. Sometimes anxiety make you tired. There's physical anxiety, make you drain because your mind is so drained that it's draining your body. And I there are medications for it. Now, me personally, I'm not saying there's nothing against medications because I know there's some people that need it. But me personally, I don't do the medication thing because a lot of the anxiety medication, I feel like, and I'm disclaimer, I'm saying for me, has some type of side effect where to me it sounds like it's making you worse. To me. But I know there are some that, need it and that works for them. Me personally, it doesn't. First time I had an anxiety attack, they put me on medication, and the medication made me worse till I couldn't function. I took that medication once, and I never did it again. I said, look, if I got to struggle with it, me and anxiety is going to just be in a fight because it's not for me. And every time I see medication, it has those type of thoughts, and it's just like, I don't want, if I have the anxiety, I'd rather just deal with the anxiety and not have thoughts of doing other things, because to me that defeats the purpose. But I'm not, disclaimer, I'm not saying anything against medication because I know to each his own, but for me personally, I can't do it. But it's not like it's easy dealing with anxiety either. But I the older I get and the more aware I get, I've made a purpose to do everything the anxiety don't want me to do. Even me starting to make these videos, I was anxiety about that. And I was like, I'm going to do everything anxiety tell me not to do. Everything. Because I don't want to give in to it. I'm not a get down and lay down type of person. And not saying that people that do, because like I say, everything is different for every person. There are some people that just cannot deal with this at all. And I understand it. I can never say, well, why don't you just, no. People that don't have it, they say that. Why did but I understand. I understand when you feel like, oh my God, like I just want to stop worrying. I understand when you feel like, why can't I process stress the way other people do? I understand that. There's been so many times that I've told myself that. And what helps me is just being aware. Being aware of when I'm overthinking. Being aware of my intrusive thoughts. I talked to a therapist. I looked up my own symptoms and I was like, you go on Google and I'm like, why do I think these things? Intrusive thoughts. My therapist didn't diagnose me with that. I diagnosed myself. Not saying that no one should diagnose herself, but me personally, I'm a person that I like to be very aware, and I like to be very, if I'm going to be going through like I want to be aware of how to deal with it. And before I even got to the therapist, I'm like, that is a extra help, but I pretty much already knew what my issue was. And anxiety is real, and sometimes it's hard to explain it to other people, or sometimes it's you're viewed as being crazy, or whatever. Anxiety sometimes running in families, there's people that you have anxiety and they have anxiety, but they don't know that they have it. And so they just think, you're either putting something on them, or, that you're crazy or whichever, even though they have the same exact thing. Sometimes anxiety running in families, I know that for a fact. It runs in mine on both sides. And there's a lot of people in my family that don't know that they have it, and they clearly have it. But and sometimes when you're a person that's aware of your own stuff and you see somebody else and you just want to be like, oh my God, would you just get it? But you can't force it because everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own realization. Everybody has their own growth. Everybody has their own walk. And your walk may not look like theirs, and their walk may not look like yours. But it's hard. It's hard. And I'm the type of person, even though I encourage and I try to inspire as much as I can, I never want anyone to look at me like I am perfect. I go through this every day. I just know to deal with it. And there's some days that I be like, oh my God, I can't deal with this today. Like worrying about stuff, and then you think about the economy, that you worry about money, and you worry about food, and you worry about your family, and you worry about things. And sometimes your worry is so real to you. It's not real to other people, but it's so real to you that you're like, what if something happens, or this or that. And then sometimes even when something do happen that you worried about, then that kind of like sometimes will give your anxiety the satisfaction too. Like, oh well, when I thought this was going to happen that one time, it really did happen, so now it's feeding my anxiety. And sometimes you think like that, but sometimes that's not always true too. And that's one of those things where it's two things can be true at the same time. Yes, things happen. Yes, there's been times where, you will worry about stuff, or people will worry about things, and it actually came to happen. Yes. But then the other part that is true, that's not always going to happen. Every time you worry about something, every time you have anxiety about something, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Even though it has, or even though you've seen it, or, whichever, that doesn't mean it's always going to happen. So, even with being that with yourself too, of being aware that, you know, I'm not always going to go outside and something is going to happen to me. Yes, it could, but then again, it could not either. So, but anxiety will tell you, it's something wrong with you. It'll have you going to the hospital or the doctor, and thinking something wrong, like your heart is, your pain, you got chest pains, you got worry, you thinking you have a heart attack, you think you're having a stroke, all these things. And sometimes I've even heard where anxiety has caused those things. Literally has caused people heart attacks because of stress on your heart. And sometimes it's not even you worrying. Sometimes you could just be sitting there minding your own business, and your heart rate is up. I will go to the doctor many a times, and the doctor, your heart rate is too high, and I'm like, I feel perfectly fine. I wasn't stressed today, nothing. I'll just go to just a regular checkup. Not saying I go many times, but just a regular checkup, and the doctor, your heart rate is too high, and and I'm like, I got anxiety. I was fine today. I'm not worrying about anything, but it's your body, just the anxiety. I legit, just me myself, you go on jobs, and you get a new job, and you got to do the physical. Me myself, they had to clear me medically to work a job because my heart rate was so high that they had to make sure I can actually work. Like, I was into the point of almost just, they were like, we don't know, we're gonna make sure you're not. And I'm like, I'm fine, but it's in my medical record that I have anxiety, and I have very bad anxiety, and I'm not medicated or anything. I just deal with it. But you know and you have the heart monitor watches. I had one of those, and my heart monitor watch would always say my heart rate is too high all the time. And if I did get stressed, it was really too high. But I try my best, and I strive to fight. And you know, I'm not saying that you should feel weak if you can't fight, because it's hard. it's hard. And I'm a person that, I took pride in being a strong person, but I had to say, look, I'm strong even in my weakness. I'm strong in my strength, but I'm strong in my weakness too. Like, you can be weak, you're a human being. And some days it's hard. Some days your anxiety is just hard. Like, you feel like your body is shaking. And then, I work at night. So things like coffee and stuff like that, that kind of makes it worse. But it's just like you need the energy. So I'm like, look, I'm going to drink the coffee. I'm not going to drink as much. And I'm just, whatever comes with it, I'm just going to deal with it. But then again, I have my vices too. Vices help with your anxiety, expressing yourself. I do this. I talk. Me expressing myself helps with my anxiety. Me being myself, me living in my truth helps with my anxiety. And I know that's not for everybody, but everybody has their vices. Whether you draw or whether you listen to music. I am a very avid music listener. I would listen to music for a very long time. It helps my anxiety. I've also taken up exercising. And I used to hate exercising, but I've learned that it helped me with my anxiety. Like, it really does. It gives me energy. When my anxiety is draining me, it helps me with energy. So, but I mean, I'm not a gym nut either, because I mean, I could do a little bit better. And they do say things um, like coffee and like alcohol and stuff like that can affect it. But I mean, heck, sometimes, I mean, you need a number or something. I mean, sometimes it's a pro and a con to that too. But it's hard. It's not easy, and I never, even though I like I say, like, I like to encourage. I never want to come off as I don't struggle, because I struggle my anxiety every day, and what makes me feel good is expressing it. There's people that deal with anxiety. They're afraid to express it. They don't want to seem crazy. They don't, or people are talking about them. So what? This is your issue, your walk with life, and this is your struggle, because it is a struggle. It doesn't, it's all a part of mental health problems isn't just depression. And then there's some people that have depression and they have anxiety. That's a double issue. And it's hard, and not everybody can deal with it. Like, and you can say it's not for the weak, but it's not for anybody, really. I mean, cuz you don't want to feel bad and say, "Oh, I feel weak," but you're a human being. You're a human being. You don't have to feel bad because anxiety kicked you one day. There's another day. If anxiety kicked you yesterday, you kick it tomorrow. And if y'all gotta keep, you and anxiety gotta keep fighting. I also have a visualization in my mind sometimes. Like, when I'm worried about anxiety, like, I visualize like a woman in my mind with a sword, a semi sword, and going into the jungle of anxiety. And anxiety is like a jungle, and there's like vines everywhere, and just blocking your view, and just covering up everything. In my mind, I'm a woman with a samurai sword, and I'm just with the samurai sword, I'm just going through and knocking the anxiety out every day. Just tearing it up. Sometimes you got to do that. And then some days you just be like, anxiety is just gonna have to get me today because I'm stressed. But I'm human. I'm human. And there's people sometimes that don't understand it. Your family, your spouse, your friends, your whatever. And you don't even have to feel bad because they don't understand it, because they're not in you. And sometimes you're gonna have to deal with the people that don't want to try to understand it. And you don't have to feel bad about that either, because they're not inside of you. They're not inside of your mind. They're not inside of your heart. They're not inside of the realm of your anxiety. And there's times I've even had to remind myself, look, hey, this person is not, they're not going to understand. But you don't have to be upset with them, and you don't have to be upset with yourself either. Like, and don't allow people to make you feel like you're crazy either, because it's not your fault that you have anxiety. I mean, it is what you make it, and you know, but don't feel bad because you can't take it sometimes. Don't feel bad about that. And I iterate, don't feel bad about that. Don't feel bad about that. You know, don't feel like you got to hide it either. When I say living in your truth is so freeing, it is. Your anxiety don't want you to live in your truth. Just want you to just be all stuck up in yourself, and I'm afraid to let people know I have this, and I'm afraid to express. I'm afraid what people might say. So what? They didn't create you. God did not make you for other people's comfort. It's a struggle. And I say this, and I wrote a quote that says, don't let it build misery, let it build muscle. Anxiety will build some muscle for you. You struggle with anxiety, you will build some muscle, and sometimes those muscles get tired. Like I say, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes those muscles get tired. Sometimes those muscles get weak, just like working out. But it also builds them. It builds them. Some days you're tired. Some days that muscle is you strong. And I say that because I live it. I don't say nothing I don't live. I don't say nothing that I don't have no, and I won't even say I have expertise in. I'm not the biggest expert in anxiety, because my anxiety may look like somebody else's. Somebody else's anxiety may look different from mine. There's, like I say, everybody can't deal with it sometimes. And they just was like, and some people are just like, I'm just done with everything. And I don't suggest that. I suggest fighting it, but just know that if you can't, then there's some people that understand. Like, and I'm just gonna leave that at that. But it's hard. It is hard. Anxiety is hard. And then you have, people of that's very like that feel when we get to talk about religion and things like that. Now, I'm a very spiritual person. I have a relationship with God. I pray like I don't know what, because I need it. I pray and I go to therapy. You can do both, because I need prayer. Because dealing with anxiety, you need prayer every single day. But I don't knock the person that don't pray. I don't knock the person that say, I don't know, I have so much going on in me that I don't think I believe in God, or I don't think I believe in this, or I don't think I believe in that. I do not judge that person because I understand why. Even though, I have a different perspective, and I'm like, yes, I lean on prayer, there may be somebody that's so much in pain that they feel like they can't lean on prayer. But I do. But I also think about therapy too, because I feel like people that are, you know, they put everything in religion and just pray it away, and you can't just pray it away. In that case, why would God, put it into people to be therapists, and put it into people to be psychiatrists and stuff like that? Yes, you could talk to God, but you need somebody in person to talk to too. And don't feel bad about going to therapy, and don't allow people to make you feel bad about it. And I've even heard of, anxiety is a sin. Okay, it may be, but if you can't help sometime but worry, like I say, sometimes you're in a rabbit hole of worry and you don't even know you're worrying. Sometimes I could say that. And you know what I do? I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm worrying today. I know that I'm worrying about this. And I'm going to intentionally try my best not to worry about it, but I'm not going to beat myself up for worrying about it, because I'm human. I'm human. God made me a human. God know my struggles and know it, and know what I go through every day. And if I got to be in therapy for the rest of my life, pray for the rest of my life, I will. Because I rather that than to let my anxiety tear me down and to keep me from doing the things that I should be doing. Like, there's many times where I didn't do things because of anxiety. I can speak on this because I've been through it. I didn't go to college right away after I graduated high school because I felt like I couldn't do it. I felt like, oh, not only do I have anxiety, I have ADHD too. So I felt like, okay, and it took me a couple of years, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Period. Everything my anxiety tells me not to do, I'm going to do it. Whether I'm afraid, whether it might kick me in the butt, what at least I said I did it. Like, I got tired of just not doing things and not trying because I was in, my comfort zone, anxiety, failure bubble, and afraid to fail. And I just, I just got tired of it. I just got tired of letting my anxiety win. So I said, if my anxiety win one day, I win the next day. We can do tit for tat with anxiety, but I'm not going to lay down. Me personally, but like I say, I don't. There are some people that they just, they can't deal, and I don't judge those people. I don't, because I get it. I get it. I come from it. I got to motivate myself every single day. I got to talk myself out of emotions and a lot of things every single day. And some days I can't win with anxiety, and some days I can. But it's not. I'm not gonna let anxiety give me a final burial either. I'm just not. Me personally, I just and it gets hard. It gets hard sometimes when your anxiety won't let you sleep. It gets hard sometimes when your anxiety won't, let you be happy some days because you're too busy worrying about stuff. It gets hard when your anxiety it can be a stressful situation, but your anxiety will put a magnifying glass on it. And it can be something small, but the anxiety will put a magnifying glass on it and make it so big to you that you're just like, I don't even know how I can even deal with this. It can be a stressful situation or really not a small situation. But your anxiety will put a magnifying glass on you, just make it huge, make it big. And you wanna it makes you feel out of control sometimes. So then, that's when you feel like, okay, well, I gotta have some type of control of things. Like me personally, like I'm good at, like, I do things like little notes and stuff like that just to remind myself of things, just to organize my thoughts, because anxiety will have your thoughts so unorganized, and you're just here and you're just there. And then, you know sometimes if you feel like you're a procrastinator too, because I used to feel like I was a big procrastinator, then I would procrastinate and then my anxiety would blow it up, so it's like I was fighting two different things. And the anxiety will tell you, look, you're a procrastinator, so now worry about this, worry about that, worry about procrastinating. So you will worry about procrastinating, and then you're stressing out because you're like, well, I got to do this, I don't want to procrastinate this, I don't want to not get this done, I don't want to not get that done, I don't want to be the procrastinator. So now the procrastination is in the back, and then the anxiety is in the front. So, and it's just like a never ending cycle. And it gets hard. It gets hard. It's hard not only when you're responsible for yourself when you got anxiety, but also when you're responsible. It's double when you're responsible for a family and kids. And if you're a husband, if you're a wife, if you're a mother, if you're a father, if you're, and have anxiety. Seriously, it will have you think. I Anxiety had me just feeling like I just was going to be a terrible mother and things like that. I was pregnant with anxiety. I felt like something was going to happen to me, something was going to happen to my baby. If I went to get a sonogram, I don't know if my child would be. Anxiety will have all these things in your head. Just, you're not putting them there, but you know it's just the thought process until you're like, look, today I'm fighting. Like, and it took me a while personally. Like I say, like I was pregnant, had my first child, and as a first child, having your first child, you already have anxiety in it. But when it amplifies when you have anxiety. I thought all type of stuff. Oh, something is gonna happen to me, and the thing that infumes it is some of those things actually happen when we're talking about like pregnancy and stuff like that or whatever, to mothers, to or it happens to the baby, so that gets in your head too, and you're like, well, these things actually happen, so then the anxiety magnifies it too, like, oh well, this could happen and this and that, and you just worry, you just think, and it just, sometimes you don't even realize it unless you actually stop and be like, you know, anxiety has stopped me from doing a lot. Like I didn't get my driver's license at the age of 16 because I've been in so many car accidents in my life. And I wasn't the one driving them, just with different family members. And anxiety had me like, I'm just afraid to get my driver's license. I can't. Until I was like, I'm done being in fear. I'm gonna do it. Oh, and then you start to feel better, like, what, I conquered my anxiety. It may have been late, and whatever late is, whatever. Like I said, I didn't go to college right after high school at 18. I waited until I was 22. But I was like, you know what, I did it though. At least I did it. I'm not going to keep letting my anxiety win in this situation. I've wasted too many years. I used to be one of those people that was afraid of change. Afraid to I want to keep the same phone number, same, live in the same house, be at the same job. I've wasted my time at jobs being afraid to leave the job because being uncomfortable with change, and the anxiety of not excelling in the next place and not excelling in life because of anxiety. And I just got tired of it. That was my those were a lot of my turning points, just getting tired of just being in fear, getting tired of just letting my anxiety win every single day. I give myself, I'm a human being, my anxiety gonna win some days, but every day I just got tired of that. And even now, I am older and more, and my wisdom grows. But even now, sometimes anxiety try to sneak up on me and be like, oh, well, why would you try that? You shouldn't do that. You're not going to excel in that. And sometimes I say, it may have me a little 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, no, no anxiety. I'm going to do exactly what you don't want me to do. I don't care what the outcome is. Even now, like, I'm in the midst of writing a book. I started this book years ago and I put it down because I didn't believe in myself. And I picked it back up again, and I jumped right back in. And my anxiety was, telling me, oh well, you can't do this. Even if you publish this book, it's not gonna go nowhere. You're not gonna, it's not gonna be noticed. And I said to myself, you know what, I don't care if I don't make a dime off this book. I don't care if it never gets noticed. I don't care if it sits somewhere on the shelf. I'm going to publish it just because my anxiety don't want me to. I'm going to do it, period. However I got to do it, I'm going to do it, period. Because tired of being afraid, tired of letting the anxiety win every day. And I say this because I live it. This is me authentically. No facade, no, I'm not a mental health guru. I'm not an anxiety guru. I am just a person who has to motivate herself every day, that's using it to spread it to others. And I still struggle. I still struggle with my own anxiety and my own issues every day. Pray and go to therapy. Because I stress that with the therapy. I stress it. And in my community, it doesn't get talked about good enough. And they can't even, it's a struggle. Talking about therapy makes people feel weak. But you're a human being. You are weak. You're a human being. You have strengths and you have weaknesses. And that's what it is. But you're also, in your weakness, you have strength. You have strength to say, hey, I got a problem. I got a flaw. When I pray, automatically, God, I lay all my flaws at your feet, God. I am imperfect, God. I am imperfect. Sometimes, God, I let my anxiety get a hold of me. Sometimes I let my worry get a hold of me, God. And God know it. I know people, people say, "Oh, well, you worrying is a sin and all the other type of stuff." But it's like God knows you're worrying. Even the people that don't believe in God, He knows you. Like, we're human beings that has stress, that has issues, that has mental issues, and some of us may have a mental issue for a short period of time, and some of us this is a lifelong thing, and anxiety is one of them. And anxiety goes along with a whole lot of other things, depression, everything else. Some people have depression and anxiety. Some people don't have. Like, I don't have depression, but I definitely have anxiety. And if I would allow my anxiety, I feel like could have easily turned into depression. Like, honestly, you know, who knows? But I try to make it a point to be aware as much as I can, aware that yes, I have issues and I'm truthful with it. I will tell anybody I have anxiety. That's not telling your business, that's you being real. A lot of that is just lowered down in you and just compacted, and everything else just lowered all in you. Sometimes you can feel the anxiety in your stomach, you can feel it in your chest, your whole body. You just feel like you just a ball of anxiety, and it could be for no reason. Sometimes no reason. You could just be sitting there, everything could be going fine. Even sometimes excitement causes anxiety. Like, you just being excited causes anxiety. Like, you doing something, and you've accomplished it, and you just like, oh my God, I'm just so like, and it makes your body just, and then you got anxiety. Sometimes anxiety will make you feel like you can't even believe certain things that you've accomplished and stuff like that. Like, there's just no way, no way. But it happens. It does. And I'm a firm believer of that. Firm believer, and like I say, I live it. I live it. But I mean, it's hard. It is. Don't let people tell you it's not hard, because it is. It is. Even for the strongest people, it's hard. You don't have to, you don't have to feel bad about it. You don't. Because if no one woke up and was like, I want to have anxiety, I really do. I just want to just be filled with anxiety. And some people have anxiety. Anxiety come in all different type of colors and flavors, because there are people that have anxiety where they can't leave their house. They have social anxiety. Like, this is not just a one category thing. Like I say, everybody walk is different. I may have, just anxiety where the next person may have anxiety where they can't even leave their house, or they can't be around people. And even people with anxiety don't understand anxiety. Like me personally, I have anxiety, but I don't have social anxiety. So I don't fully understand social anxiety because I don't have that, but I understand anxiety. So it's all anxiety, period. And I try my best even to be aware of other anxieties that I don't even have, just so I won't be judging anyone. But, we're human beings. And I'm not going to say that I've never judged other anxiety. I'm not going to say I've never, because, you think to yourself, like, well, I don't have social anxiety. Like, why would a person not want to leave their house? Even though I have anxiety, but I have to understand all realms of anxiety. It's not just one. It's not just one category. It's like I said, they come in all different categories and all different flavors. If that's the way you want to put it. That's how I'm putting it. They come in all different categories and all different flavors. But we're in this, you know. And even the temporary anxiety, there's people that don't have chronic anxiety, they'll have temporary anxiety. You know, they start a new job or something like that, and that's stressful and they got anxiety. Then once they start, moving in with the flow, then that goes away, you know. But people like me, we have chronic anxiety, so everything is a worry. Everything is blown out of proportion when it comes to anxiety. But me personally, I just try my best to make the best of it every day, and to encourage everybody out there to live in your truth. You got to go to therapy, go to therapy. If you got to pray about it, pray about it. If you don't believe in any of those things and you still, struggling with it, don't feel bad about that, because like I said, no one woke up and said they wanted to have anxiety. No one. And you don't got to feel like a sinner either. And I say that you don't have to feel like a sinner because you have anxiety, a mental health issue that, especially if you striving to strive and to, be aware and better yourself every day. God know you got that you have anxiety, and it's not a sin to go get help. It's not. Sometimes, like I say, there's been time where I've worried and didn't even notice I was worrying, because it's almost like second nature to just worry. And there's been times I've had to bring myself down. But why don't make people feel bad about it, and don't religiously bash people either, because I have an issue, with that. There's nothing wrong with getting help. It's nothing wrong with talking. It's nothing wrong. You can pray, you can talk. You can talk, you can pray. Express yourself if you need to. If you're not a person that do express yourself, if you journal or whatever, I write. Another thing to help me with my anxiety. And just any vice that you have, do it. Me personally, I've been one to do more with meditation. I don't know much about it, but I feel like I gotta turn my mind off sometime, because anxiety have your mind just running. I'm a person that thinks excessively, and I've been striving even in my own life to learn how to turn my mind off sometimes. But then again, and this is just the negatives of anxiety. Negative anxiety has its pros too, because it does make you hyper aware. I will say that in certain situations you do need to be hyper aware. So that's the pro of it. There is a pro part of it. It does make you hyper aware, but that's the hyper awareness is also the con too. That's one of those two things can be right at the same time. So it does make you aware of your surroundings and stuff that happens, or of people and situations. But then again, the con is sometimes it make you too aware, so the situation don't fit with your anxiety. But sometimes your anxiety fits the situation, but sometimes your anxiety don't fit the situation, if you get what I'm saying. So just be intentional about it if you can. That's what helps me, being intentional about thinking as positive as I can, and not beating myself up for being a human being, not beating myself up and sometimes I do beat myself up. I'm not going to say I don't, because I'm a human. But I intentionally try to give myself grace. But I'm also not leaning on anxiety as a crutch either. Me personally. I don't say, oh, I can't, I'm not, because of my anxiety, because I'm striving to do everything opposite of what my anxiety tells me to do. But I know that's just me. I know everybody is different. Everybody feel different. Everybody got a different walk. Everybody got a different flavor or color of anxiety. And that's just where we're at. But I just want to come here and motivate and bring my true authentic self, because I'm always making videos of here motivation and inspiration and quotes, but this is me. I struggle too. Don't ever think I am perfect. This took work. But I want to motivate everybody out there. Be yourself, be true to yourself, and don't feel bad about your weaknesses, your strengths, anything. Because when it comes to anxiety, you're just gonna have to be in the ring with it every day. But this was another penny for my thoughts, and keep your mental healthy.